That did not work very well. Okay, so I probably need to rethink my cutter here. That chattered a lot. So I'm less than impressed with the finish that we were left with wherever that cutter went. This type of cutter. I mean, these are just some cheap fly cutters, probably off of like eBay or Amazon, somewhere along the way that I bought like 5 years ago. So I'm gonna try using one of our more traditional like boring style cutting inserts. This is actually one that's kind of like homemade, and we're just gonna see if we can get a little bit nicer surface finish on it. Okay, I'm thinking that a light cut is gonna be the ticket here. So I'm gonna try a 1/1000 cut. Can't really tell as though it's much different, to be honest. Nice. It's still kind of a dull finish, but it doesn't feel rough. The finish from that other cutter, it almost felt like, I don't even know how to describe it, almost like sandpaper going back across this way, where it had kind of almost like it had peeled up burrs but not fully broken them off. Whereas this one, it seems to have done a way better job of cutting. So I'm happy with this. We can get it off the machine and go do the valve seats. So I want to give you guys a rundown of what I've done here, because I've already set up and cut one valve seat on the exhaust side. The reason I did that off camera is, I'm sure some of you realize this, but having the camera on adds an extra level of distraction to what you're doing. So when I'm doing a setup like this and trying to get our tooling in the right spot on the first try, sometimes it's better to just turn the camera off, test things out, and then show you guys how we did it, as opposed to actually showing you how we did it while we're doing it. Factory spec on these calls for, I think, somewhere between like 55 to 70 thousandths seat width on both the intake and exhaust, although the exhaust valve is a 45-degree angle and the intake valve is a 30-degree angle, so we will have to set up two different cutters. But I have our 3-angle cutting insert here. Let's see if we can get that to focus on there. So this is a 60 thousandths wide 45-degree seat angle. That's the one that you can see right in the middle there. And then it probably has like a 60 bottom and a 30 top angle. Real simple 3-angle valve job on this, nothing crazy performance-wise. So this little tool helps us get set up. So what I did is I took one of our exhaust valves and I put it on the valve stem, ran this pointer out, and just kind of eyeballed it, looking at the seat width there and knowing that we're going to have about a 60 thousandths wide seat. I put the pointer to where I want the outside edge of my valve seat to contact the valve face, and hope that that gets us right in the middle when we actually cut our valve seat. Then I can grab our tooling here and we can run that in close without breaking the end off or chipping anything. And again, see if we can focus it good. I don't know if you guys can see, but I put that pointer right on the outside edge of that seat angle, and in theory that gets us in a pretty good spot to go cut our valve seat. Once I had the valve seat cut, I put a little bit of color on the valve face, and again, it's going to be hard to see on these with them being the nitrided valves. Maybe I can zoom in there and get it a little better, but you can see where it rubbed off. We're maybe slightly biased to the outside diameter of the valve, but we are in a good spot in the middle of the valve face with full seat contact on our 60 thousandths wide valve seat. So that's how I got my cutter set up. Factory specification on these is a minimum of 38 thousandths depth on the exhaust, and a little bit less than that on the intake, but the camshaft manufacturer for the camshaft that this customer is going to use specifies that they want the valve recession to be a minimum of 38 thousandths on all of the exhaust valves and all of the intake valves. So that's what we're going to put them at. I went through and I cut this valve seat and measured, and then had to go back and cut it just a little bit more But when we put our valve in there, and we take our deck bridge here, we've got 0 on the indicator on the deck, and you can see we're right at 40 thousandths depth on this. So just inside our minimum 38 thousandths spec. We want to keep it as close to that minimum as we can, but we also need to be at that minimum so that, in theory, they won't have any piston and valve clearance issues, although they still need to check that when they assemble. One thing that really is nice about SBI valves, the thickness from the valve seat to the valve face. I mean, again, this is especially important on diesel valves. You can see that one is within 2 thousandths of the one that I checked right there. Sometimes there's other manufacturers that I've used where I had to cut every single seat to a different depth because the thickness from the valve face to, well, from the